Welcome back, insiders. As you may know, Donald J. Trump's former SPAC, known as DWAC, is now a real stock, trading under the ticker symbol DJT. It's making a lot of news and moves before and after its not so good 10K annual report that just came out. So whether you're long, short, or just watching DJT for pure entertainment, this video is for you. Here's what we're going to be discussing. We're going to have an overview of the three major recent filings that came out, including that big 10K that everyone's talking about. We're also going to be talking about a very scary dilution scenario that could be a killer for the ticker. I also want to talk about important platform statistics worth knowing and some technical and macro momentum that could help or hurt the ticker. We'll see, but they're definitely in play. So as you see here, this is Truth Social Media. This is the platform. It looks and works a little bit like Twitter. Now, I'm actually having some problems showing you the actual inside, and that is because I can't log in from Germany. Right now I'm in Germany and it's just not working. I don't know, whatever it is, maybe it's a bug or something like that. It just says error every time I try. I even tried my VPN and then it just totally crashes the website. So I can't show you more about it, but I did find this nice little image that kind of shows you how everything works. However, it's not a focus anyway in this video, talking about the functionality of the site. If you guys want me to do a video on, the functionality of it, I would be happy to do so. Anyway, I am one of the 12% of the US population that have tried to create an account on Truth, apparently according to their statistics that we'll cover in a second. Now, this company is owned by TMTG, which conveniently stands for Trump Media and Technology Group. In case you're ever wondering, it says right here. Here's some of their other assets. Obviously, Truth Social, that we're talking about today, TMTG Plus, which I think is their development arm, and then TMTG News. And their mission right here. Truth's social mission is to end big tech's assault on freedom of speech by opening up the internet and giving the American people their voices back. A little bit what kind of feels like Twitter's up to at the moment. Anywho, these are the reports that are coming out right now. And the first one we're going to talk about is April 1st, 10K annual report. There was an amendment, but there wasn't that much going on. The 10K is really a big daddy. And, it's got some people a little bit nervous. For sure. There's a few big reasons people are a little bit nervous here on the 10K. And the first one is if you search this term at this juncture, look at this line. This is a little bit absurd, and this is what has people on edge. At this juncture in its development, TMTG believes that adhering to traditional KPIs, key performance indicators, such as signups, average revenue per user, ad impressions, and pricing, or active user accounts, including monthly and daily active users, could potentially divert its focus from strategic evolution with respect to progress and growth of its business. So they just don't believe the classic KPIs will not align with the best interests of TMTG. And that's the group that owns it that we just talked about, or its shareholders. So that's a big red flag. So every other social media company talks about, how many users it's getting every month, what's the active engagement rate of these users, how much revenue can you pull out of these users, and none of that is being discussed. I mean, Reddit just IPO'd, and we had a perfect example of what you would like to see in a 10K. And nothing was that in this case, in this 10K. So there's a lot of red flags around there. So a lot of people are calling it shady because there's no KPIs released. And it's a little bit like investing blind at the moment because you just don't really know. Now, you do know what their financials look like. And they're also looking really rough. So first of all, their deficit, their right here, accumulated deficit has doubled year over year from 2022 to 2023. Not really something you want to be seeing. And then their financials are pretty rough. So actually, I found this Simply Wall Street I use sometimes for revenue expense breakdown. I just like it a little bit more nice. The graphics are a little bit better, especially for sharing on YouTube. But their gross profit, right, is 4.4 million. 4.4 million, guys. That's really, really small. And their earnings are red. So they were down $40 million loss last year. And right now, they're roughly a $5 billion market cap. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind. For example, we can compare Reddit. Reddit has 800 million revenue, right? 4.5 million revenue compared to 800 million revenue. And it's about an $8 billion market cap. So if we want to compare, revenue to market cap, Reddit is about 10x And there's a lot of people that think it's overvalued. I personally think it's overvalued in the short term. I'm looking for it to come down a little bit more into like the $5 billion range. It's still right now trading roughly a 10x value. We're going to go to the charts in a second. But and this is the crazy part. DJT with a 4.5 million revenue and a 5 billion market cap is about 15 to 2,000 times revenue. That's insane, depending on what day you look. So it's super overvalued. It's like peak meme stock right now, no matter how you want to look at it. Now, you can argue that Reddit and DJT are overvalued, but compared to DJT, Reddit feels like it's for free. And that's okay. Nobody's, I feel like, trading DJT because of fundamentals. So that's totally understandable. It's a meme stock. It's pure hype. Maybe it's already gotten squeezed. So that's a whole different debate to be having. And it just kind of feels a little bit weird. I mean, non-operating expenses here, 25 million. What is that 25 million? You know, that's a big question mark. If I was an investor, I would be very nervous about this ticker. Coming back to the 10K, if you go all the way up, right here, where you're going to see something called warrants, each exercisable for 1 share of common stock for $11.50 per share. Now, this is the first major, I don't even know if I would say first major red flag. This is one of the big red flags. So I went to Dilution Tracker, which is a nice site to give you an overview of some dilution, some warrants on a certain ticker. And usually like a biotech that's constantly raising capital and diluting the stock, you'll see where the millions of shares are outstanding are just slowly increasing. Now, this just went from SPAC to a real stock, so that's why there's a bit of discrepancy there. But if you come down here, they have SPAC warrants that are not registered, and with an exercise price of $11.50. Right now, the stock of DJT is, let's see here, at $46. We'll talk more about the chart in a second, but it just shows that right now, if they wanted to, they can register these, sell them. Whoever gets them get an exercise at $11.50 and then dump it right on the market at roughly $46, and that's 25 million shares. Now, this ticker only has like 30 million shares outstanding, so that would completely destroy the stock, and I'm pretty nervous about that if I even wanted to, let's say, trade the momentum. So I wasn't investing, but I was swing trading. I think it may be seeing a squeeze or something like that, and I think there's more momentum. So that would put me on edge. Now, they would have to register them first with the SEC, so once you see something like SPAC warrant or registered warrants, then you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, here I want to be a little bit more cautious. But you have 4 days to register with the SEC. So you can register them, you could dump it, and then you could tell the SEC 4 days later. And by then, you know, if you're long the ticker, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So that would have me a lot on edge. Coming over to FinViz, the shares outstanding are 37 million. So I just wanted to clarify that's where it's at. So it would, you know, maybe like 40% increase the amount of shares outstanding, which would be really, really rough. The short ratio, which is how many days it would take for shorts to cover at the current 30-day trending volume, now is at 0.5. So that's not too bad, although this is probably not an updated number. This could be like last week. So it doesn't feel like there's really a squeeze inbound. If this was like a short ratio of like 4, 5, maybe 10, I would be like, woo, this ticker might squeeze. But with a short ratio that low, I'm not too interested. I'm just not too interested. Before we talk about the other 2 SEC filings, let's look at some statistics about Trump or Truth Social, sometimes called Trump Social, that came out. So this is updated February 13th. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. It is a little bit delayed, but only 2 months. That's not so, actually like a month and a half. That's not so old. So coming down here, Truth Social was launched 21st of February 2022, and right now there's approximately 2 million active users. I've seen that number anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million. So maybe it's somewhere in that range. It's kind of hard to say where they got their information from, so I'm not totally sure. 12% of all US social media users have used or visited Truth Social platform, so I'm one of those 12% at this point. 77% of Democrat voters said they would never use the platform. It's an interesting statistic. Again, I'm not totally sure where they pulled that out of, but let's keep going here. Now, this is a big tell. Statistics are coming right from the app stores, so I think this is quite reliable here. You can see on launch day, they had a huge boom, 1 million iOS downloads, and then a little bit of a softening, and then pop right back again to a new high. But ever since then, installs have been going down quite drastically, almost month over month. And then same happened with Android. Once they launched, they had a kind of a decent opening day, and that's been going down ever since. Still a pretty decent amount of installs, but I think they're starting to find a little bit of their saturation, maybe at least with their total addressable market for sure. So that might be a little bit of a red flag. Here's a nice design or chart where you can see how it's going down a little bit, the installs month over month with Apple and Google Play Store. So let's come back to the SEC filing. So we have a Schedule 13D, which is basically if anybody owns 5% or more of a company, you want to know what they're up to, or they have to. They're required by the SEC to file. And that is here. And on this Schedule 13D, you will see right here, Donald J. Trump, names of reported persons, and he owns 57.6% of the company. So, if you're buying it, this could be good for him to raise some capital for sure, especially with all the legal fees he has going on right now. So what came out after that was April 3rd and a 10K and an 8K amendment. Now, these amendments weren't really too specific. I was looking through them for a while, and all I was able to find is that they found some so-called Scrivener errors. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right, but basically this is how you spell it right here, Scrivener error, which is basically any sort of misspelling or grammatical error or an omission of a word or phrase. Could be kind of shady, but they also define it as such errors are usually non-material and do not change the content or the intentions of the parties involved in the document. Now, the amendments is something that you see quite often, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. It always just sounds a little bit shadier than it is, especially with this word Scrivener error. I'm just like, So what I find super important for DJT is momentum, because momentum, I feel like, is everything for this ticker. The second it starts looking at fundamentals, I think it can get really, really ugly for this ticker. Like, I know that for a fact. There's no way it's going to be able to maintain a 1,500 to 2,000 revenue X multiplier. It's just not going to happen. I mean, even the goodwill of Donald J. Trump, I'm not sure, 5 billion, 5.2 billion right now. And that's basically the whole valuation of the company. That's tough, right? So that's what you're betting on. So here's what I'm worried about. First, technicals, and then macro. First of all, the technicals, there's a bit of a trend line here on the bottom holding support. We did break it for a little bit, but on lower volume, bounced right back up. So I think if we crash this zone, I think it could get pretty nasty. Now, we might see some sort of double bottom somewhere in this area, or triple bottom, I guess you could say. So maybe we'll break this. We'll have a retest off this line, and maybe we'll just pull back again like that. And then we'll actually crawl back higher. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we did consolidate somewhere between $33 and $50. But I do think if we break that $40 zone, maybe $41 or $42, depending on the day we reach this support zone, if we reach it, then I don't know. I would be a little bit skeptical, at least of buying. So I would like to maybe consider trading the range. But I think this is just a little bit too of a high risk ticker for me. I think those warrants make it a little bit of a no-go for me. It's just, you just don't know what's going to happen. You could wake up one day and this is literally at $10 or at $5 or at $1, and there's a good chance it might happen. But there's also a good chance it's going to squeeze and run up past the $100. But I'm a little bit skeptical of that happening because of the short ratio and that we talked about earlier being at 0.5. So it'd only take half a day at current volume for shorts to cover. So I don't think the squeeze is really the problem. And also the market that we're in right now, as a trader, you see a lot of tickers having a hard time holding any high. So we see a lot of tickers that pop and they just drop and fade all day. We're not getting really nice multi-day runners. And, if you do get a pop, they're just never as strong as you expect. So the macro markets just aren't that great right now for a ticker like DJT. It's not the classic GameStop environment where everyone has their COVID checks and they're just dumping money into the market. And that's what makes me very skeptical of a ticker like DJT having a short squeeze. Now, the last thing is the fact that elections are coming up, and this is potentially a good macro trend. I mean, if Trump is in the news every day because of elections, people are going to be thinking Truth or Trump Social, however you want to call it, and they call it Truth Social, obviously. But this could be a big macro catalyst. So Tuesday, 5th of November, 2024, guys, mark in your calendars, because I think as we approach that day, there could be some good momentum. And let's say we're in October and this ticker is still consolidating between maybe $30 and $40 or maybe $40 and $50. It might be an opportunity for a trade, or it could be September, it could be October, I'm not really sure. But anytime this thing finds consolidation and there's just so much bad news about it, but it's not going down any further, there could be a chance for a pop back higher. Who knows, maybe a little bit of a retest here after some consolidation before it sells off. You can kind of tell I'm a little bit pessimistic with this ticker. I just see so much risk and reasons why this is not going to work. But in terms of a long or investment. But on the other side, I've never had this many people actually message me and be like, hey, Alex, what do you think about shorting DJT? And like people that never ask me about stock information. So maybe there is a move there. Maybe so many people are wanting to short it and they're going to get on the wrong side. I mean, the shorts reports that we see on FinViz and all these other websites are late. They're super delayed, sometimes up to 2 weeks, sometimes even more. So it's hard to have any or put too much faith in what you see on those financial websites when it comes to short ratio and short interest. So I usually don't use that as a focal point, but I do like to look at it just to see what the current consensus is. Let me know your thoughts on DJT. I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say in the comments. Thanks for tuning in and dropping that like. I'll see you next time.